whole world is underselling us. You know it as well as I do, right? I can't think of anything better. The fact that they aren't talking about our team with the depth that we have at every position, I've been saying it to every that I've spoken to in the media, right? In terms of our goalies, our back end close defensemen, our long stick middies, our short stick middies, our face-off guy, our midfields, and our attack. We got the best players at each respective spot. Saying what we did. We set the tone. They got to fall in our hole. You guys understand that? And that comes down to you handling your role and embracing it regardless of what it is. We don't give a who plays. This is about winning, and that's it. That's on three. 1, 2, 3. Ah!
All right, and we're back, and I'm pleased to be joined by a special guest. Kind of a little scheduling. I had to joke with him a little bit about that. He knows what I'm talking about. Pleased to welcome Derek Dejoe. I don't know if I pronounced it right, so you can correct me, obviously, if it's wrong. But
that's awesome. You said it right. Thanks, Dan.
Okay.
For me on. I'm fired up.
Yeah. Please have you on. You are actually one of the members of the last Final Four team for Syracuse. How does that make you feel? Let's start there, and then we'll take you back for your lacrosse journey. That's the first question I have for you.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a special weekend being part of that 2013 team. I was a freshman.
Yeah.
It was just a great group of guys. I mean, I think a lot of those members with, Dejoe Marasco, Joe Fazio, Brian McGill. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Right.
Scott Loy, all of them. They're just like unbelievable leaders and, taught my class a ton. We had a bunch of kind of guys redshirt that year. And,
right.
I was fortunate enough to get a little playing time as man up as a freshman, but just an unbelievable experience and really hoping we can get back. I think that when we get back this year, the alumni are going to be ready to rock in Gillette Stadium. And I mean, no one's seen a tailgate like a Syracuse lacrosse tailgate in a minute. So I'm excited.
I was just going to say, I always tell people this because I get a bunch of people who are not lacrosse fans who ask me about a tailgate. I said, you have to experience a Syracuse tailgate in its prime for college lacrosse playoffs to experience it truly. You've never experienced it. You obviously know your parents were obviously involved in it.
Oh, yeah.
So let's take it back like we were kind of talking about before. How did you get into lacrosse in the first place? What was the first experience?
I mean, I think that was the first gift that my dad gave me when I was born was a lacrosse stick, traditional that he made, little mini stick while I was in the womb. And I mean, ever since I could walk, I was popping Barney VCRs in the VHS tape with my lacrosse stick. And my dad was my youth coach, Steve Dejoe, shout out, and Mike Reardon, Blaze Reardon's dad.
Okay.
We've been inseparable our whole lives. And I mean, we could pass and catch when we were 2 years old. And my dream my entire life was to play Syracuse lacrosse and going to the Dome, watching all the greats. And I mean, it was Syracuse or nothing, honestly. So
I was going to ask you because a lot of people tell me, I've talked to a couple other former players, and they're like, nope, I didn't want to choose Syracuse. Or Joe Von Miller tells me the story about how his mom, he made the promise to his mom that he would go to Syracuse if she went to every game. Was it one of those, or was it just, I'm going to Syracuse? If Syracuse doesn't recruit me, I'm not playing college lacrosse?
No, I mean, I didn't really know how the recruiting process would ever really go. Like, I definitely got a lot of, big time letters going through the process. I mean, back in the day, I think I got my first letter from UNC in 8th grade. it was that there were no rules. I went and visited Penn State. I told my dad, like, this is the sickest place. I want to go to Penn State. He's like, whoa. Like, Syracuse was the dream. You got, posters all over your wall. Joel White and Josh Amadon. My Syracuse lacrosse room was painted orange my entire childhood. He's like, you got to go visit Syracuse. And once I went and talked to Coach Desco, and that was where I wanted to play, and it was always where I wanted to play. So,
who would have been the second choice? You talked about visiting a couple schools. I always like to ask people that because it's always the backup option.
Probably Penn State, honestly. Coach Tambroni, he's a great guy, and I thought that would be a good fit. It was a great visit and everything, but probably Penn State, I guess.
Okay.
Never would have made a Final Four though.
Right. Yeah. See, that's
actually, I don't even know if they made the tournament the 4 years that I played.
See, there's positive. There's some positives there. You kind of talked about it. Your first year on the team, you were mostly man up. I think that's a fair way to say it.
For sure.
What was the transition like from high school where you were the number one guy on your team? I don't know if you were. That's just an assumption on my part. To the man up unit at Syracuse.
No, I was fortunate and gifted with a really hard shot. So I think that was a big factor of it all. But no, I mean, we played good lacrosse for sure in what was it, Section 5 Class A at Fairport High School. Definitely surrounded by a ton of great players. I mean, I had a UNC midfielder on my line, Drew Hayes.
Okay.
We had a really solid defense. We obviously had Blaze Reardon and net, which was huge. A lot of really good players. Shout out Pat Van Bortle. He went on to Geneseo and ended up being the first team to beat OCC and end their run.
Okay.
So he was a big lefty attackman. I kind of switched to midfield my senior year. We just had a great group of tight-knit guys that played our entire lives since, second grade on, and all the youth stuff. And so it wasn't, I mean, it's obviously a huge adjustment, right? Every single player, when you get there in your classes, player of the year, All-American, and then mix in with a bunch of upperclassmen. But I was just like happy to be part of it. Every single game, whether I was a freshman or senior, it was like, this is amazing. The fact that I'm getting to play at, Domewood and getting to play at Klockner and just, I mean, you just had to embrace every single moment. It was amazing.
What was the best stadium you played at besides the Dome, obviously, because the Dome is partial for a lot of us, but what was the best stadium that you played at, and worst, to be fair?
I would say Klockner was definitely the best.
Okay.
We played, we were in the Big East my first year. I think we played Providence at their, it was like AstroTurf, so we all had to get turf shoes and all that. So I would say that might have been the worst stadium, but it was
why I always wonder why Klockner, because listen, I love Klockner. It's a great venue, but the wooden bleachers kind of push it away as a fan. I'll just say it that way. It's not even
I think it's cool that everyone's on the fence, right? Everyone's like chirping on the fence.
Right.
That was always like the game, right? Syracuse versus Virginia, no matter what. I feel like that rivalry is like 100 million games, and it's like one, it's 100 something goals to 101 goals, right? Like,
right.
So it's just the history and the everything about it was just special, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have to be careful saying it's the one stadium that hasn't changed. I'll just say it that way. That makes it more special. Like, I've gone there a couple times personally. I love it.
Yeah.
I wish they would change the bleachers. That's just the fan side of me. Like,
yeah. The cool thing I will say is, though, it's grass, and every other stadium has like football lines. Like, that's a lacrosse stadium, or a lacrosse field, I should say. And just that trip was always special because At Syracuse, if it was over a 6-hour bus ride, we usually flew private. So
Okay,
that
that's good
was
to know. Actually, I didn't read that.
So yeah, I mean, they get to fly to Duke and UNC. UNC is pretty special too. Kind of always hated playing at Duke, of course, but
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the best Dejoe story you can tell?
Oh, he's funny. He's awesome. I mean, playing for Coach Dejoe late in his career, I thought was pretty special just because, you hear the stories of him as like younger, like, I'm sure he was a little crazier, but he was always just kind of like, if you can't do well in practice, how are you supposed to play in front of 25,000 in the dome? But yeah, dang, good, funny big man story. Probably one of the funniest ones was he always had like a new Cadillac,
Okay.
I swear it had like new plates every week or something. And we had like a really cold day and he like drove up and like turned his lights on. It's like snowing. We're outside the Super like we had the Ensley Center.
Yep.
He like flicked on his lights. We always said he hated the weather. He would be in his big puffer coat and, heated gloves. And I thought that was pretty funny. Like cold day, we're out practicing. He like flicked on his high beams to help us with some lights, like from his car for a minute. Pretty funny.
That's good though. I've always heard a lot, but there's a lot of stories that can't be repeated online. Let's just phrase it that way.
For sure. He's funny though. He has a really cool sense of humor, and I really enjoyed playing for him.
Are you still in contact with him being a coach now? Is there a little bit of that?
I don't really talk to him much, no, but no, I'm sure he's doing well and just living his life. And yeah.
So your sophomore year, back to your Syracuse career though, because I'm reading off their bio that they wrote for you. I'll just be honest. This is the way that they phrased it. This isn't the way that I phrased it. It says mostly man up again. That's essentially the way that they phrase it.
Sure.
So, was that like your niche? Like, I don't want to say it in a wrong way, but like a lot of people are very good on man up, and there are some that are stellar, and there are some that are better on just 6-on-6.
Yeah. I mean, every single player at Syracuse those years, I think we were number one at some point in the 4 years I was there. I mean, just tough to crack like 6-on-6, right? Like for sure. They're probably better Dodgers than I was. And I was just happy to honestly be part of it and get any playing time when you have all the loaded the roster that we had. So I'll take anything at that point.
I was gonna say it up. It also has a note that you recorded an assist in the ACC championship game. That's their note for your sophomore year. So that's their communication for you.
There we go. Perfect. No, I definitely thought I had kind of a sophomore slump. I broke my wrist at the end of my freshman year, actually.
Okay.
And then missed the Final Four. I got to be one of the guys to dress and go on the field and stuff, but didn't actually get to play in the games in the Final Four. Had a cast on, and then kind of recovered through my sophomore year. And, it's just a tougher year, I would say, for everything.
Right. I was going to say, I think I have the stats here because I had that pulled up. Yeah. That's one of the things there we go. So then we go to your junior year. Yeah. And then there's a couple more points. I'm just going to phrase it that way. I'm not going to say the number because I got hate from somebody when I said I was having you on. So I will be messaging that person. I'll just say it that way.
Funny. Who? Come on.
No, it's a little joyful hate. Like it's not a terrible. I mention your name, and he goes, "Who?" That's how it was phrased to me. So not a former player, just a fan. I just want to be clear with that. But you really took off your senior year. That was the year that I'll skip right over the junior year because it's essentially the same stat line as your freshman year. I don't even want to say that in a bad way. Like you took off though in your junior year. I mean, 17 goals, 6 assists. Now, obviously, that was a big number then. I don't even want to say this in a bad way. Now,
Yeah.
today, you know how the game has changed today.
100%.
There
Yeah,
are players who had 17 points in one game. Let's just phrase it that way.
for sure. No, it's crazy. I mean, we had Nicky Galasso transfer in.
Yeah.
I think that was the year that we bumped Derek Maltz to midfield, and we put the best player that I've ever played with, Randy Stotts, as an attackman.
Okay.
I mean, the teams were loaded, right?
Yeah.
Sure. The fact that a lot of those games, I'm probably my junior year that I was scoring goals were probably burner minutes, honestly.
Right.
On man up as well, and then let's get into senior year.
Let's get in. Let's go. Yeah. Senior year is the marquee year.
I think I was one of those guys that just honestly loved Syracuse so much and loved being part of it, like all my best friends and everything. And I was a third line midi going home my senior year, over break. Maybe an injury happened. I cracked the second line. Had a really good first half of that season as a second line midi, and then ended up getting bumped to first line, running with Sergio Salcido and Nick Mariano. Nick Mariano also transferred in. Kid's a stud, great kid, one of my buddies for sure. And again, just like there's no one on the roster that isn't capable. And I think that it really worked out well. That was kind of where it really took off, was you had two unbelievable Dodgers with Mariano and Salcido. And then I was kind of that step down shooter. I knew my role and, kind of got the shorty, could beat the shorty senior year. The funniest thing was I actually wasn't on man up my senior year.
I noticed that in the notes. That's the one year that they didn't put that for.
Yeah. So I was on man up for 3 years. And then Mariano was the lefty shooter.
Okay.
And you had Jordan Evans as the low lefty guy. But yeah, it was definitely interesting, right? I was first line midi and 3 years of man up, and then senior year not on man up. So just adapt and happy to be part of the squad.
I was just gonna say, you obviously injuries work out the way that they do.
Yep.
That's obviously your best year point wise, but would you say that's the best year of when you were there?
Yeah, for sure. I thought so. I thought that I had some really good games my senior year. I think that playing at Klockner, I had a really good game. That was a big one. It's one of those things, right? I think I scored the first goal of the game, and then you get that first one, and then they all kind of start dropping.
Right.
You miss that first shot, you're kind of in a slump. One of the big things too, my freshman year, was when the U for shooting strings got banned. So
that's right. Yeah, that's it.
So being my best part of my game, I'd say, was my outside shot, and then trying to adapt to that, I switched to leathers. I was using traditional my whole freshman year.
Okay.
Trying to figure out how we were going to get through this rule change. My dad would string in all my sticks traditional. But it was a great year for sure. Everything kind of just clicked. I felt like I put my time in. A lot of guys, if they're not seeing the field or not feeling like they're getting the playing time, they just transfer now. And that definitely wasn't an option. And I just kind of kept grinding and kept working my way up the roster.
I was going to say, I tell people all the time this too. If the transfer portal existed when you and the Final Four run happened, there would be a lot more championships for Syracuse, because there would have been a lot of people transferring in. Yep.
I mean, and there were. I mean, we like picking up Nicky Galasso was huge for us. Having Randy come in was huge. Having Nick Mariano come in was huge. Nico Manning came from OCC. He was a great LSM that got some good minutes. But yeah, I mean, just such a loaded group of guys. When we were there, we won 2 ACC championships, a Big East championship. So went to Final Four. Like it was one of the best like 4-year runs. And you looked at my class, it wasn't honestly supposed to be that way.
Right.
So it was pretty special. And I credit a lot of that leadership to that 2013 team kind of taking us under their wing. I mean, we were driving JoJo's red Hummer around all over campus. Like they all like probably did the same stuff, right? Didn't play much as freshmen, grinded through sophomore and then junior year. And by senior year, they were like playing. You're just more developed. You're stronger, faster, bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing, kind of the transfer portal thing again. I think that's the tricky part. Like somebody like you, and I don't want to say it this way in a bad way, but maybe somebody like you who's on the third line, if the transfer portal exists, goes somewhere else and says, hey, Penn State, like you, obviously that's the backup.
Yeah.
They're offering me a second line. Now I can go there. I think that's the difference, right? Because like there wasn't a lot of the transferring. There was the OCC kids. There was the occasional transfer, but now, I mean, you look at all the transfers that come into Syracuse. You look at all the transfers that come into everywhere. You obviously know, being a coach, it's everywhere now.
No doubt. I mean, I just always wanted to be a Syracuse guy, like, and that's how all of us were. I mean, if you look at the roster now, I mean, how many people play? I'm sure there's third line middies that aren't getting as much burn as they'd like, but there's just something about the tradition, the history, like just being part of it. Like I always say, I have way more respect for the guys that stick it out for 4 years with no stats and are showing up as scout team guys. Like, I mean, you need those for the big runs, right? Like I thought that being a scout team guy going against the number one defense every single day at practice, and that's how you made your team better. And like there's just so many factors. I think being on Man Up definitely helped. We got those like minutes, and I was definitely hoping for 2 jumps on a face-off when that was the rule, and like hoping that we didn't score sometimes when they were a personal foul for a 30-second. But it was wouldn't change anything, honestly. I didn't really even think about transferring. That wasn't really an option. It's just keep
I think
putting your time in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of people do, unfortunately.
Yeah.
We don't hear about it as much. We didn't hear about it as much back then during your years, is the way that I'll say it.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the MLL. I gotta say it right, because So what was the transition? Because you talked about the high school to college. Then it's a whole nother level going college to MLL, where everybody has been there for 10 years or however long. Like everybody has been there for years.
Yeah. No, I had an interesting MLL career. Honestly, it was short-lived for sure. I got drafted by Rochester. My high school coach was Tim Sudan. And he was the head coach for Rochester. Honestly wanted to probably go somewhere else. And because that was just such a tough roster to crack. I mean, you had all these studs, John Rannigan, Ned Crotty. I mean, they had their roster set. Got to go to practice and be part of it. I thought I competed well. Got in a couple games when, again, people got hurt and whatnot. But almost kind of felt like their decision was almost made, because he like knew my whole life, and I'm like his hunting friend, and he's my dad's best friend. And I mean, you look at Blaze Reardon's career; he was the backup to Galloway, and then all these years, you're like, whoa, this is actually the best goalie in the world. Like, he was the backup. So, I then got picked up by the Ohio Machine, and it was like the same thing. We actually won the whole thing that year. Got to go to training camp and do that, play in a couple games, and then some people got injured. Remember getting called, and what was his name? Marcus Holman He was Utah had to win a game, and then he wasn't going to be able to make the game. I would play, but they ended up like losing the game. He flew in, like threw his pads on literally 4 minutes before the game. I was like, dang, this is pretty much the end of it.
Yeah.
And I got picked up by the Charlotte Hounds, and I was like, this is awesome. The coach was like, we love you. Like, we're so excited that we found you and we have you on the roster. And then they folded. So I was like, oh no, like this is really the end. And then I ended up getting injured in like men's league in Texas. But I got another call from the Dallas Rattlers.
Okay.
Like, we'd love to like have you on. Coach Sudan and Monty were the coaches. And I was like, oh man, like, are you really gonna like let me play almost, or are you gonna like do the whole training camp? Because let me tell you, those MLL training camps, and I'm sure PLL training camps are an absolute grind. Like, you're not in peak NCAA, shape, and you're showing up against men that have been starting for 10 years. Like, I'll never forget it. My first training camp, I showed up and I'm putting all my pads on, my shoulder pads and everything, and I'm looking around and no one has shoulder pads on. I'm like, hey, I guess I'm not wearing shoulder pads. And, I got my midfield elbow pads on, and like every ground ball for a rookie at training camp, like you got wall deck, like just wailing on you. And you're like, oh my God, like it was, but that was an unbelievable experience, like be part of. And then the PLL stuff kind of happened, and, went a different route. It's definitely a grind, like making 400 a game to.
I was gonna say, so the story I heard from Mikey Powell, I think, was 1,000. I think that was the number. Like, but Matt, the guy who usually co-hosts, but his work schedule is really wonky. He saw Mikey Powell here in Syracuse, and he asked him, "Why did you walk away?" And the way, I think Matt's going to correct me on this when he hears this, the way Mikey said it was, "I'm not going to travel for $1,000 or whatever the salary was then." Like,
you definitely don't do it for the money.
Yeah, and obviously that's changed now with the PLL, but back then it was like, okay, if I'm local, it's great. Yeah, for you, like when you were down in Texas, it's great because you're in Dallas. There, you got the setup.
Austin, Texas.
Oh, okay, so yeah. I don't really know Texas geography. I'm just gonna flat out say it that way. So,
greatest state in the world.
Yeah. So, obviously, your decision was, as you said, fairly easy.
Yeah, for sure.
What was the transition to coaching? What was that like? Or how did that come about? I should phrase it that way. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, I got into coaching because that was the best summer job you could possibly have. Yeah. Playing at Division I and playing at Syracuse, like my stock was high to go to camps and coach all through that and help the youth guys out. And it was like an extra way to get some money. The money in Texas to coach youth was what was good, and a little extra spending cash. And then it just kind of evolved. I was really fortunate enough to kind of break into this Texas lacrosse coaching community. And then I went to Houston. I was an assistant coach there. I had some good success. I was like assistant coach of the year in 2019. And then my wife was like, we'll do Houston until capital gains hits, and then we're going to go back to Austin where my family is. And I was like, 100% Austin's the best. And the head coaching job at Lake Travis opened up. So that was 4 or 5 years ago. Right. And I was the youngest Class A head coach hired. I was like 25 years old. Ended up having a really good run. We won the Class A state championship. And really just, this is where I live. I live in Lake Travis. I'm tied into this community, and been super fortunate to continue coaching here. We've been having a great season so far, and just love like molding and these young minds and raising, great human beings. And right now we're number 6 in the state in Texas. And we have an unbelievable youth program coming up. A great group of guys at Lake Travis. So it's been super, super awesome. I'm really happy to be here.
What's the explosion like? Because when you were playing at Syracuse, to be fair, there was no lacrosse in Texas. I think that's the correct way to say it.
Yeah, I mean,
now it's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, the athletes here are just insane. The football program at Lake Travis is unbelievable. I mean, they have practice at 6 a.m. every morning. They have a lifting class, and then they get out of school early to have a second practice every day, whether it's fall, spring, or summer. And I think that mindset of just like the weight room and, football and all that, it's translated over to lacrosse. And we're not a UIL sport, we're club, so it's a lot of parent funded money or business sponsors and sponsors in general that support our program. But I mean, these kids are able to travel all over, and a lot of really good coaches are moving down here. You got Matt Dunn with Pressler at Highland Park. You got Anthony DeMeo from Maryland at the Woodlands. You got Tim Troutner at Memorial with I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Who's the goalie for Notre Dame that just graduated? Entenmann.
I was just gonna say I blanked on the name too, so it's all good.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of just really knowledgeable lacrosse players that played at the highest level are sharing their wealth of knowledge and connections in this Texas market. So it's been good. There's been some really good players though. I mean, Brandon Mullins at Syracuse, number 11. I mean, he's from Coppell, Texas, up in Dallas. You got Nakai Montgomery that played at ESD. That Highland Park team is loaded with Division I players. ESD has a couple absolute studs. We got Josh Logan going to Notre Dame. It's good. Chemo is an unbelievable player at the Woodlands, playing for DeMeo, going to Penn. So it's shifting, and these kids are taking it really, really serious and getting great opportunities after high school.
I didn't hear any Syracuse's in that commit, is all I'm going to say.
Well, you have Owen Siebold, who played at Highland Park.
Yeah.
And
I'm saying currently more than I'm making a kind of a joke about that, but that's a different story for it.
That's one of the biggest things for us, right? I always say, I'm like, Syracuse takes 10 kids a year. Like, I always say, would you send your kid to Alabama football camp from New York? Like, it's just not happening. But it's an uphill battle, but there are some serious hidden gems. I would say a lot more specialty positions pan out. Like Matthew Nunes is a starting goalie for UVA. He played at the Woodlands. We have some really talented face-off guys. The defensemen are all big football kids, and like those kids pan out. It's the offensive kids that struggle. One of my best friends, Sam Romano, he played at ESD. He probably had the best high school highlight tape I've ever seen. He went to Syracuse as well. And just like that, adapting to the offense, when I think a big factor is like in New York, I could just go up and go to the Dome and watch games. We had 2 Texas games this year played. Duke played Denver. Denver beat them at Highland Park Stadium in Dallas. And then Towson played UVA in Houston this year. But that was like probably the first time all these little kids got to see what, the roster for UVA, they don't have one kid under 6'3" on defense. So it was like good for them to see it in person and live, what like a real Division I lacrosse player is. And, that's special, but you get to see that in New York. You can being Rochester, growing up in Rochester, like you can pop into a Nazareth lacrosse game. You can go to RIT game up the street. You know, you got Hobart right there. You can go to Syracuse. Like you're just surrounded by role models, you know, and everyone's dad played Division I lacrosse or has a buddy. Like here in Texas, you can throw a rock and hit an MLB baseball player, but like there's only a handful of us that have played at the highest level for lacrosse. So
right.
I think that's
I was gonna say I have 3 within 20 minutes. I'll just phrase it that way that I can drive to.
Exactly. It's awesome.
And it's not a bad thing. Trust me. If I could actually have 4 because Lemoyne. Put on your coaching hat for a minute and we'll talk about this year's team. I don't know how much time you have, so you tell me when you gotta go.
I got all day. We're good.
Okay. If you were on the defensive side, do you focus more on the offensive side in your role or the defensive side? I know you're the head coach, but every head coach has their specialty. Let's just phrase it that way.
I would definitely say offense is my specialty, but I lean a lot on my offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator for sure.
So I'll put on your defensive hat then for a minute.
Okay.
Seeing the Syracuse offense this year, who would you pull if you were the defensive coordinator? That's the way that I'll ask it.
Yeah. That's really, really tough. And I think that every team is having a really tough time with that. Yeah. I mean, Michael Leo can swing it. Like he's an unbelievable player. I love Roa's game. I think he's special. Yeah. I mean, who do you pull? And then originally you would say maybe put a shorty on Hiltz, but like why would, with his box creativity, like you can't put a shorty on him. He's so talented and just unbelievable IQ and stick skills. And then, who is the third on that line right now?
So right now they rotate. It's Sammy English as the third midi. Yeah. And you're not putting a shorty on him because he's so quick that he can run by any short stick.
Yep. And push it in transition, and he's playing D midi. I mean, I love that kid's game too. Like he's rose up in some big moments this year as well. I mean, you got to put a shorty and slide early, but then who do you slide off of? Like, and their movement is just so insane as well. Like, I don't know who you shorty.
I think the odd one out, unfortunately, is Rilla. Unfortunately, I hate to say it that way because in an ideal world, you'd love to put a poll on Leo.
Yep.
If you can, obviously.
Yep.
And Roa reminds me of you in a lot of ways.
Appreciate
because
it.
He's the shooter. No, but you know what he's the step up. You were the knockdown shooter. That's what you were. I was watching your highlights from earlier, the ones that you put out, I think it was like 6 years ago, and every shot seemed to be outside. There was no inside. There was none of that.
Yeah.
There's a couple, obviously, but the majority were you would get the pass and you would turn and shoot. That was your
strength.
I think Roa's that way. He's not really a dodger. He is what he has to be. That's the way that I'll say it.
And I mean, he's lefty, righty. Like he can sling it from the outside. I mean, honestly, you kind of have to hope that like he misses.
Yeah.
You know, and you got to hope that like Leo's off or something. But I mean, they've been on, and their chemistry and their ball movement and their 2-man game and everything is just, it's really tough.
I think the other one that you probably put a shorty on is the third attackman, depending on who that spot is, because you can't put it on Spalina, obviously. Yeah. He's too good to get. And Hiltz, like you said, the box game kind of sets him up if you put a shorty on him to play the inside game. I think, unfortunately, because you have the unproven people at the third spot.
Yeah.
If you're going to put anybody there, I hate to say it that way because, like, I want them to not have the shorty. I'll just say it that way.
It's hard, though, because, like, they're still, again, 2-time All-Americans.
Right.
Like, who was the starter last week? Was it that Anderson kid, right?
They started Anderson. They started Anderson over Deere, and then they kind of rotated back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if Trey Deer's out there, and I love his game too, I feel like you got to shorty him. But then that Anderson kid is just such a big body.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. And I mean, he proved that he can dodge too. I mean, he had some big time goals. I mean, it's good to see, like, as a coach, you have to, like, you got to watch out for kids transferring, right? Like, you got to make sure everyone is happy. Like, I mean, I still have nightmares. My class, a bunch of the kids that redshirted were saying that who's number 12 at Maryland, Wisniewskis, or like they were
I'd say Logan. That's an easier way to say it.
Logan Wisniewskis is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? But Logan, like, that kid should have played, and losing him, like, they all went to coach and were like, this kid needs to be on the field, and they didn't think he would transfer. And then he goes and is one of the all-time leading scorers at Maryland. Like, that kid was special. So it's good to see them kind of mixing in some guys. And I kind of thought Trey Deer would be a guy who transfers, but again, he's so close with Spallina and that tight group. And so it's cool to see them kind of giving a bunch of different looks all over.
I was going to say, and I think, like you said, putting Deer out there even for a couple games is a big deal because it keeps him at Syracuse. Let's just phrase it that way. Like,
100%.
And you're building him for when Hiltz and Spallina are gone. That's what you're essentially doing with him and Anderson, because they're probably going to be your 1 and 2 when they're gone. Yep. Hopefully, if they're both there, let's just be fair. Like, things can happen.
Yeah. No.
What
one of the kids that I'm really worried about is come on, he was a top recruit out of the Syracuse.
There's a lot of those.
Top recruit out of the Syracuse area, though. Kempney. Like, I haven't seen him play much this year, and kind of wondering what's going on with him. I don't know if he's hurt or.
I think he's been hurt 99% of his career, and I don't want to say that in a bad way. Like,
well, that makes me happy because, I mean, both of his whole family went to Syracuse. And, I mean, I know they had a lot riding on his success. So
I haven't seen him dressed. I'll just say it that way. That's
all right, perfect.
Or he might be in street clothes. I don't. Somebody's gonna come at me for this. So let's just say he hasn't played because he's injured. That's the way that I'll phrase it to be political and
love it.
So for the offensive side, and then we'll switch to the defensive side. Who's the quarterback of the offense, in your opinion? Is it Joey?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I think Joey is, like, I mean, I know he gets a lot of crap for not scoring in big games and stuff, but like again, as a coach, you're keying in on every single thing he does. Like, the offense opens up because he is creating, and he reads and reacts to what the defense is giving him. I mean, he's not. He reminds me a lot of Kevin Rice.
Okay.
Doesn't waste a step. He is always dodging with his head up. He's always looking for the open guy. Every time he scores, it's a juice goal. He's always supporting his teammates, like, no matter what. Like, he's always, like, I think a lot of Syracuse's success is because of him and his dad. Like, really tied into 91 and, getting those top recruits and knowing who the best players are in the country. And, like, that's a guy I want to play with. Like, he wants to look to the open guy. He wants to make the right pass. Like, yeah, he wants to score his goals too, I'm sure. But, like, those big games and those big moments, he's okay to, hey, I don't have the best matchup. I have a first team All-American poll on me every single game. And, we're putting a shorty on a Roa, or Hiltz has the third poll. Like, we gotta, there's just better matchups. And that's a really hard thing for superstars to adapt to. And I think he does a really good job of it.
Matt and I joke after the bigger games. We look at his point total, and I'm like, oh, he had the quietest 4 points I've ever seen, because you'll never hear anybody talk about him except for when it's bad. That's the worst part about it. And I hate to say it, and I've criticized a lot of people. He has 4 points, and somebody tells me he didn't have 7. Or that's what I hear from people.
Yeah.
When they beat Vermont, it's he doesn't score enough. When they beat Hopkins, he didn't have enough points. When he does what he did, and he had the points, and he tied Casey Powell's record.
Yeah.
I still heard from people criticizing that. And I'm like, what do you want? This kid is not going to score 10 goals a game every time. Like, he's just not. Like,
for sure. And yeah, back to like you were saying, like the points now are ridiculous with how many people are like, dude, if you got 12 shots off in a game when I played, like you better have 10 goals. Like,
right.
Because we're playing, I mean, we would have to spin the ball around 4 times before we could go to the goal. Like now, I would have loved to play in the shot clock era. I really would have. I think like that's. I honestly do think that's one of like the weaknesses of the team is like we don't really have a outside like real cannon. Like we can shoot on the run. Like Roa can sting him on the run. Leo can beat his man and sting it from 13, 14, no doubt. But like. We don't have someone that can like really spread a zone out and like, but we always find the looks inside.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd love to see number 40 get out there. I feel like that's someone that I feel like he'll have a similar career to me, honestly. You know, he man up, and now they haven't really got him in.
I was gonna say that is a question that I've asked other people because I know exactly who you're referring to, and that was my question because we saw him on the man up. And he had a cannon because that's what we all heard. We all heard all about the cannon. And I was like, okay, if he's on the man up this year, the natural progression should be second midi. Yeah. I mean, third midi, whatever you want to call it. And we only see him in blowouts now, which is kind of crazy to me. Just as a fan, I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, it's a similar thing, right? Like he's just his strengths are outside shooting. Like he needs to be mixed in with 2 Dodgers.
Yeah.
But then if he's the third guy on a line as an outside shooter, like he's got to be able to beat his shorty as well. And obviously they're not seeing something, but it's a tough spot with just coaching and having you know 14 offensive midfielders that are again all 2-time All-Americans.
Yeah, I think so. The criticism I have of the midfield, and I've said this to a lot of people, you talked about being on the third line. And I'm not saying that in a bad way with this, but there's no midfield depth on this team, too. Because when you go from the first line to the second line, there's a huge drop-off in production. And part of that is Burt Whistle's injury. I understand that, but there's still a lot of lack of production from the second line.
Yeah. No, that's a really tough one. I mean, and every single game is a big game, you know, that Syracuse plays. You always get everyone's Super Bowl. Yeah. When you come to the Dome, like, you know, Colgate's a good team. Like, I was worried about that game. Harvard turned out to be a pretty solid team this year. And it's tough, like being in it, you know, because it's weird situations. Like, you know, there's a timeout called or 2s are up, but then you lose the face off and then the 1s are healthy or fresh. Ready. So it's like, why would you put, but then down the stretch when it's, you know, 100 degrees and you're playing in the ACC championship we always played at Kennesaw State. I felt like I don't know where it is this year.
I think it's in Carolina. Carolina.
It's going to be hot, right? And that's when you got to like believe in your second line guys and your third guys. And it always was kind of like, it was always like 1s get the first one, 2s, or maybe go like 1-1-2, 1-1-2. And then again, it's like, oh damn, now it's a flag down. Like,
now 1s are up again. And now
and then it's more pressure on the 2s. It's like, shit, now here's my shot. Like, I got the shorty, like I gotta beat my guy. You make that one turnover, and then the 1s are like, Coach, why aren't we in? You know, like we could have done that too. And it's it's hard when every single game is such a big game and you're trying to get, beat teams by certain numbers for your rankings and make sure you blow this team out here. And, and then you're in the fourth quarter up on Vermont or whoever you're playing. And it's like, I've been in those situations.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, this is hard to like go to the goal now too. Like we're trying to kill some clock and be smart. A lot of times those second line runs, it's like, hey, let's use the whole shot clock here and make sure that we're resting our defense. Like I would say the best defense is offense.
Right.
You get the ball, they're not scoring. But
yeah. What would you say? So what you're talking about in Georgia, in Carolina, in Duke, I think that's my concern with Sammy English, and I love him as a player, but eventually he's going to get worn down because you are running him both sides of the ball. He's the dodger on the line. He's the primary defender besides Rice.
Yeah.
How do you solve that? That's the way that I'll ask it.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. Like being D-Midi in this league is, I think, the hardest position. Goalie and face-offs is really hard. But it's the same thing too, right? Then you get everyone's watching film and everyone's cutting it all up. So it's like they see one thing on the third D-Midi. It's like we're going at him every single time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be a big thing, and that's why the second line needs to play a little bit more. And again, sometimes when they don't score and they just wind down the shot clock, that's like a win with the coach. So yeah, you want them to score goals and stuff, but like the whole game management is like really a second line midi. Just make sure you don't have any turnovers. Right.
I mean, you're gonna get caught because you have Sammy off, you have Carter off. Yeah. And you're just hoping that none of them get caught. I hate to say it that way because we see it so
100%.
often. The transition game, if you get a Kempney, I'll just use that as an example because that's a name that we already mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying he's a bad defender, but if you get him caught in transition, Notre Dame is going to use him. The Virginias, that all the Division I schools now are going to use that against them. And they're going to say, okay, you want to leave him out there? We'll go one-on-one against him every single time, and we'll find him.
Yep. And the team knows, like, that's one of the things I scout. It's like, all right, how early are they sliding to certain D-middies, right? Like, sliding super, super quick. Like, that means they don't trust them.
Yeah.
And you kind of see that stuff happen too. And then, the defense wants to make sure that everyone's packed in and helping out.
Right.
You're going to have to slide it really early to a couple of those D-mids. Hardest position ever, though. I mean, by far.
That's a great way to transition because I'm going to ask you, how do you attack the Syracuse defense? This is your expertise. Now we're switching to your expertise where you can.
We can't give anyone here listening some tips, but no, I mean.
Just in general, like the general thought, I would say, is how I would phrase it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inverting every time. I think the invert offense is just so effective nowadays with, again, shot clock. The fact that if you have a turnover behind the goal, you have a chance to ride it back.
Yeah.
When you attack from X, obviously everyone has like an invert defense and whatnot. Usually everyone diamonds up, but it's like a easier thing to scout, I'll say. And yeah, just like picks from X are really tough to defend.
Right.
Whether it's any D-midi, like you're trying to switch, you're trying to get those like weird matchups, you're tiring out those D-midis at X. They're in a different spot that they're used to. And then frankly, the goal is in the middle of the field, right? If you're dodging from up top, the goal's at the bottom of your offense. When you're dodging from X, the goal is in the middle of your offense. And that's what I would do. Shot clock on, like I'm going invert.
Right. I was going to say, you see it with Syracuse's offense, touch on that. You see the positionless style that they seem to play where it's not even invert anymore. It's just, okay, Hiltz, you're going up top. Joey, you're staying down. Trey, you're staying down. Hiltz is the only one where, as you know, in the quote invert,
Yeah.
Everybody flips.
Yep. No, it's the way to go. I mean, yeah, you can't have a position now in an offense with the shot clock. Like you have to know the midi rolls as an attackman. You have to know the attack rolls as a midfielder. And yeah, that's having Hiltz be able to catch and read and, drift on the backside. Like his vision is unbelievable. And I think that is a good thing to notice for sure.
Has the shot clock made its way to the high school?
Yeah,
for you?
Texas was the second state to put in the shot clock. So we've actually been playing with the shot clock for 4 years now. So
what's the adjustment been like for that for you?
I mean, you got to sub quick. You got to push it in transition. I mean, it's old school Syracuse lacrosse. Like this is what the people want.
The running guns,
Yeah, it's just like box lacrosse. Like there's a lot of goals scored in box lacrosse. There's a lot of behind the backs and between the legs scored because you can get more risky when lower time is on the clock, right? And yeah, I think that's been a huge factor. It's also simplified offenses a lot. Like our offense when I was at Syracuse was so complex, and we kind of ran like a 4-2 where we had like 4 midfielders and 2 attackmen pretty much. Now it's pretty much like you're going to see a 2-2-2, you're going to see a 1-2, or you're going to see like a 3-3. Like, and, there's different movements out of that, but it's all pick and roll basketball style offense with exchanging on the back and pairs offense. Like it's the only way you can score quick. And yeah, I love it.
The one thing that bothers me, and this is just as a fan, when you see Spallina in the back and you see 5 guys cutting every single time, it bothers me as a fan, and I scream to the top of my lungs, and I hate it forever. Yeah. So I hope that you've never run that play. That's how I'll say it to you.
Oh, like when he's like, I got a hang up?
Yeah. It's not him, I guess. Yeah. It's the 5 other guys. Because you're essentially playing Bumblebee lacrosse, and you're hoping that those 5 guys can bump one of their defenders. And
no, it's tough. I definitely agree with that. But it's like at the same time, the ball is just so valuable in your stick offensively. So it's like if he doesn't see a perfect pass or opportunity, he's not passing the ball, which I love. Like, and that's again like everyone wants to criticize him for something, but he's just such an intelligent lacrosse player. And he stays really deep through X. I think they swing it through X a lot. It's the best offense. Dodge down the alley, draw the slide, bang it through X, get it to the backside. And that's been lacrosse for the last 150 years. And finally it's back.
I was going to say, I should be clear about how I said that. That's not a criticism of him.
Yeah.
That's more a criticism of just that play. That's how I'll phrase it. Because I know he's doing what he can do. I know what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just annoying as a fan and just
if he's hung up at X, that also means that it's an extra defenseman in front of the goal to defend 5. So it's really 5-on-6 lacrosse with like a feeder.
It's just annoying watching it for 20 seconds is the way that I'll say it with the hang up. And it doesn't happen that often anymore because like you said, the shot clock has kind of solved a lot of that.
Agree.
It's just, I hate it. That's the way that I'll scream it. I scream at Gary Gate every time I see it. And I know he's not making that call to do it. I should be fair in that.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it works out. Like,
no doubt.
You said earlier, Final Four for this team. Is that where you see them?
I really do. I think that like this is a great team, and like I mean I'm hoping for them because it's just so much pressure. Like it really is, I mean, I was the last class to make a Final Four, but I think I was the first or second to not win a national championship in like 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
And every team is just so good now, like I think that, again, I said Syracuse or bust, but like I potentially could have went to an Ivy League school.
Right.
And now I think a lot of kids are taking those things into consideration. And, not really caring about playing in the PLL as much as like getting an unbelievable job on Wall Street when they graduate.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was talking to Rick Beardsley about it. And we were, obviously your dad played, so you kind of understand this. I said you went from 4 teams when Rick Beardsley played, essentially, to you about 10 or 12. And there wasn't like a dominant thing, though.
Yeah.
And now there's a school in every state that competes D1, essentially. Like, there's not a lot of states that don't have it.
Yeah.
And every school is getting players that you didn't think they would get. That's the way that I'll say it to people.
Yeah. I'm happy with the recruiting thing for sure, though, how it switched, because now you're able to get more like the late bloomers. And, UNC was taking like 30 guys at a time and kind of, this could be an 8th grader, and then hope he pans out. Maybe he gets cut. Maybe he quits. Like now, I mean, we had a lot when we were there. I think our roster had to be like 68.
Right.
And, I mean, you look at like Liam Ferris at Binghamton now, like he's tearing it up, and he wasn't even good enough to crack a lineup,
Right.
Like, people just don't understand like how good the game has evolved.
Well, I mean, a great name is Curse. And if you told me that Curse would be at Cornell, I mean, this, obviously. We just kind of joked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I would have laughed at you. And now you see what he's doing every week.
Best player in the country.
Yeah, and by far, the Tuarton is his award to lose. That's the way that I'll say it. I've said it for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
Like, unless they miss the playoffs miraculously, that's the only way I see him kind of.
Yeah.
I'll just say it that way. That's the way that
I can't believe I hated Cornell my whole life, but now my best friend, Paulo Schiferi.
Yeah, is he still the assistant coach for that? Okay.
He's the assistant coach, and it's awesome. So,
and now you can't hate him anymore. That's just the way.
Yeah, I mean, and they're just like, they play a great brand of lacrosse, like the way they are and the type of kids they have. And I mean, Colin Curse, he's just special, like, and on all aspects of the field and off the field. So it's hard not to root for that guy, except for playing Syracuse, of course.
Yeah. Have you been to any Syracuse games since you left?
Oh, this is a horrible question. I've been to like one, but I really need to get back. It's just so hard because it's like it's alumni weekend this weekend, and I have like a huge game.
Yeah.
So, and then by the time I make my schedule in Texas, it's the Syracuse schedule isn't out. So But no, I really want to go see the Dome, and I love it. The lights go off, and
the new JMA and all that crap that everybody else hates. And the seats.
Yeah, and Gary's doing an unbelievable job. Like, I'm just so proud to have him as the coach, and his communication with the alumni and his weekly videos, and like what he's going to do with that locker room. Like, he truly gets what these kids need and want. Like, you're spending 4 hours in the locker room a day. Like, that's where I would finish my homework, and that's where I would eat peanut butter and jellies. And like, the locker room at Syracuse, when they redid it, was a big deal, but that had to be 20 years ago. And now you're losing recruits over facilities.
You said a name, and his daughter is going to a different school because of the lacrosse facilities at Clemson. Let's just phrase it that way.
I think it's bigger than that, honestly.
I do too. That's the political way that I'll phrase that. That's all I'm going to.
It's like, it's not even political at this point. I mean, the Syracuse girls head lacrosse coach, and I love Kayla Trainer. She was my lax prom date back in the day, and I love her. She's such a great person, and always rooting for her, and so happy that the success that like Gary, not like set her up for by any means. She's an unbelievable mind, and just it's cool to see the support both ways from the guys and girls, and the not too many programs have that tight knit, and we always hung out with the girls team, and I'm so happy to see her success and always rooting for her.
I would just say when Coach Joe listens to this, I just want to remember I was the one who avoided that. And there was another person who touched on it.
I love that guy. I think he's a great coach for sure. And I love all he does for the program.
No, I know.
I'm like, dang, dude, come on. But no, we all heard the story. Like, he had to be in the mud pit.
Yeah.
I
will agree, dude. That's a big part of it. Whether he wants to admit it or not, I'll just say it that way. That's probably a big part of that. I'll finish with this because I'll get you out of here.
No, you're
good. I'll try and ask this the right way. If they don't make the Final Four, what happens next?
I mean, I think we're gonna be loaded next year. I mean, it's finally Gary's recruits. You know, we were losing some top recruits, and you know, it's been good. I mean, I've sent him some guys where I'm like, these are not from Texas, like just like this kid is a Syracuse guy, and you know, Coach O and him are like, they reply to me and they listen, and I think it's just cool to see all of that. Like, I mean, he's recruiting the Syracuse guys that he wants, and it's cool to see like the brand that Syracuse is. Like, if I'm a recruit, like, why would you not want to go play for that? You know, like, he's not a screamer. He's gonna like pull you aside, coach you up, and it's coaching at that high level is so hard because like you can't really do anything. There's just 20 other guys that are just gonna take your spot and are working just as hard. And I mean, it's a really, really just tough time in NCAA. Like like we talked about, every single team is so good. It depends on the draw they get, really, you know, and I think they're going to show up, and I hope that they don't feel like they have a ton of pressure. Like, we obviously all want them to make a Final Four. I think when we make a Final Four, we're going to win it all too. I really do.
Okay. I'm going to mark that down, though. I'm just going to mark that down so we can.
I think so. And I mean, we got a gauntlet here coming up.
Yeah.
It's great that we were able to pull away that UVA win. That was huge. And I don't know how it is for you. Every time we win a game, no one texts me, and then we lose to Harvard and I get 25, 30 texts.
I'll be fair. I'm the one that texts during the losses. Because that's the message that I send, because it's not even a bad thing, right? Like, so people criticize me because I questioned the Hopkins game going into it, because I was like, it's Hopkins. Anything can happen in Hopkins. We've all seen it. And I got a mess. He'll probably listen to this, and he jokes with me now whenever I go to the games. I got a message from somebody that said, how can you be a Syracuse fan if you think they're going to lose? I said, it has nothing to do with them losing.
Yeah.
I just know what Hopkins is like. I know what UVA's like as a fan. I know what Notre Dame's like. I know what, like, Maryland was like. Like, I could have told you. I don't want to say it like the mind reader part, but the Maryland game was an easy one to call for me. Like, it's just like they're outside, time outside.
Like, what is it, seven in a row or something?
Yeah.
I mean,
but even people that they were
me. I mean, they kick us out every year. I mean, no, I feel you on that for sure. As a Syracuse fan, you're always going in like, oh, like this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah.
For sure. But like every game is just so hard, and I don't know.
There's two games I was comfortable with, and they were the first two games on the schedule. That's the way that I'll say it. And things have kind of worked out, obviously, like for the most part. But now they enter the gauntlet, so now we're gonna get to see what this team is really made of. It starts on Saturday, and what do you think? How do you think the fan support? You obviously see it from the alumni now, but what do you think about the fan support for the program? Because there's a little bit of Gary is on the hot seat. That's the message boards right now. I know you're shaking your head. No, I'm just telling you what the message boards are going nuts about.
I mean, anyone that's on those forums never did it. You know, like you weren't there. Like you don't know what goes into everything.
Right.
You know, no one sees like the money that Gary's raising to redo the locker room. We're gonna have our own facility for Syracuse lacrosse, guys and girls. Like, it's the whole city is Syracuse lacrosse, and I mean, I think it would be an absolute shame if they got rid of Gary. I think, I feel like we're finally getting in that his brand, and it's showing like the poise in the fourth quarter to be able to close out some of these games. And I mean, it was no secret. I think we got a little too fancy against Maryland, and he made adjustments and they fixed it. And those are like the learning, like that game is going to be the reason why we go to a Final Four. And you're like, we could have probably just buried this one regular, but we had to go behind the back,
right.
And I love that. I love that about that you can you get to play your game. And without the shot clock, that wasn't the thing. Like, I wanted to go to Syracuse to play free and out there and do your thing. And when you're in an offense like that, or I mean, I watched that Maryland game and I was like, I still would rather play for Syracuse. Like win or lose, like if I'm a recruit, like I want to play for that guy.
Right.
And I mean, it's so much pressure always as the Syracuse head coach, but he's going to continue to get his guys. He's going to continue to get NIL money. He's going to continue to make it special for every game. And he gets that, it's so cool when the lights go out on goals and, you got the 44 club rocking and, all these things.
If I could phrase it this way to you, and this is the way that I'll phrase it from the local side.
Yeah.
At least from the fan side.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are still with how the Dejoe situation worked out. That's the way that I'll say it, and kind of hold that against Gary, whether that's right or not. There's a lot of people, I'll just say myself included, that weren't happy with how the university handled it, is how I'll say it.
Yeah, and that's tough because I played for Coach Dejoe, and as much as he was pretty hands off, like he didn't he wasn't gonna yell at you, he wasn't gonna do those things, and that's similar to Gary, which I think is great. But straight up, we were losing top recruits, to other schools, and I think a lot of it was because he was a little more hands off, and. I love Leland. He found every single one of my best friends and every single groomsman in my wedding, pretty much, But we were losing that history. I think it was like Boeheim too, a little bit. How much longer is he going to be here for? Am I going to really for him for 4 years or 2-3 years? All right, and now Gary's not going anywhere. He's been there, he's done it. I think he's a super special guy and a super special coach. I mean, all the stuff he does, whether it's evolving the new head or the guy invented shooting strings and the lacrosse stick.
I'm not criticizing him. I will just say that there's a nickname that he has in Syracuse. That's all I'll say. So,
all right,
I'll leave it at that. It's not a good nickname.
What's the nickname? I guess
it's Pockets. It's Pockets. That's the nickname. Our nickname is Pockets because he never takes his hand out of his pockets. That's the running joke. And people get upset about that. So that's how
he's even keeled, though. Playing for a guy that just knows, when you're worried about making a mistake, it's a lot easier to make a mistake. No one wants a coach when you make a bad pass to get yelled at. Dude, I know I made a bad pass. And he's even keeled, and it showed the poise here in the fourth quarters, and that's why I'm really happy for the success. But yeah, we'll see how it goes against Notre Dame. I think this Jake Taylor kid in the inside is probably one of the best in the country. You
sound like a national lacrosse analyst with that analysis.
He is a problem. He really is, and they know how to close big games too. And we'll see, but
I mean, this is another Maryland game for me, only because Notre Dame has that ability to come in and rock Syracuse, and I hate to say it that way. They did it for the 100th. I think it was the 100th.
I was there. They smoked.
I remember that because I
You see
remember
that-
the coin.
that helmet in the background right there. That's helmets. Yeah.
But I remember going to that because I'll say it this way to you. I joked with my dad, who goes with me every game now. I said every time there's a milestone game, it's a blowout. Is how I'll say it. That's and it's not even a criticism towards
it's
you.
Facts.
It's just the way it works out. Every Syracuse sporting event that has a milestone seems to just go a certain way.
100%. No, it's a big one for us too. I mean, just seeing all these kids want to go to play at Duke and they want to play at Notre Dame, and then the next up are Ivy Leagues. You got Yale and the Harvards, and then I feel like it's Syracuse. But I've seen some of these kids that he's recruited though. Like I think we got some good classes in.
Right.
It's been really strategic on all of it. So we'll see. I think the brand has changed for the better, and it's going to continue to get better.
I have one more, and I just thought about this actually because you were talking about the recruiting. I'm gonna try and think of it. What do you say? You're an alumni, so this is an easier way to phrase this.
Yeah.
Let's hypothetically, you have a kid that gets recruited by Syracuse and goes to another school, a la Roy Colsey. Everybody knows where that's going. You know kind of where this question is going. So, is that a blame on the school? In general, this isn't in general. This isn't just a Syracuse thing because there's the legacy kids.
Yeah.
The Petro is obviously just the way things work out. Let's just phrase it that way.
I heard the Petro thing though was a little interesting. Like, I don't know if that was.
You hear more than me. That's all I'm going to say. So you're in the circle more than I am. That's just an example though. But
I think Petro at Syracuse was the worst thing ever. Like, I don't think that was a Gary hire. Like, he could not be more opposite of Gary.
Yeah. I won't disagree with that at all. That's...
Yeah. And like, I really think that there was some behind the scenes stuff on that. Like, it was really weird. And I don't think I didn't even want his kids. Like, they're really good. They're tearing it up at UNC and all that. But like, I don't know. That was bigger. The Roy Colsey one, I really want to know the story on that. That's a interesting one.
Because the story the public story is that supposedly Lars built a relationship with Roy, and that's how. I'm just going to tell you this way. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe a second. Because, like, I think, and you can speak to this as an alum, if Gary Gate called you and said, Derek, I want your kid here. Yeah. I know what you would do, given how you've answered all your Syracuse questions.
100%. That's my dream, is my kid someday to play at Syracuse. That one for sure was that. I would say that's a miss. Like, whoever's it was, but I mean, I'm sure it's deeper. I mean, I've seen the Lars recruiting videos though. Like, and it's hard, man. Like, I'm at Placid, and Coach Tillman has a house there every year, and it's the best in the country. And he's walking around and he's talking to everyone, and I'm like, is this allowed? Like, what's going on here? Like, why are you taking this kid in the locker room and he's in 9th grade for a special visit because he's on campus? And I mean, and then same thing with Lars, man. Like, he's sending the videos of him chopping wood and, sending it to these recruits. And
I gotta find that. I gotta find that to look at that. Because
I've seen him from kids that I like. I'm like, it's interesting. Like, he is, there's so many factors to it. And I think Lars is a really good recruiter. I think that, Tamperoni's a really good recruiter. Let's not forget where Brendan O'Neill was supposed to go before. Yeah. And Tillman, I mean, he just eats, sleeps, breathes lacrosse, and has that. His family is Maryland lacrosse. Yeah. No knocks to him. I think he's an unbelievable coach and an unbelievable dude. But like, are we stooping to that level, or are we keeping it clean? Like, I don't know.
The first one. That's your answer for all college recruiting now, because like you said, it's the 9th grade kid video. Like, you obviously know because you're the high school end of this.
Yeah.
what is there a rule? What's the age? Has it? I know it's changed obviously since you
but,
played.
like, how are kids committing at midnight on September 1st without talking to the coach? You know, like,
I agree.
and
I've seen a couple of commercials where it's, or I think I saw a couple of videos where supposedly at midnight, 17 coaches just magically texted this kid, didn't have his phone number.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now we're going to, yeah.
And like, I mean,
and I'm not criticizing the coaches. Like, that's not like
100%.
like,
but it's the wild, wild west out there sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to like NIL money. Like, how much gate money can we keep getting here? Like, it's evolved so much. And I really think that Gary's like strategic with that, and he knows. And I just hope we keep getting more kids that are, I mean, Connor Cannizzaro, I remember back in the day, like, there's always something though. There's Roy Colsey did he play with Gary?
I think they overlapped for a year. I think I could be wrong about that.
So like, what happened that year? Like,
right. If that's how it worked out. If he didn't, then it goes back to what you're saying. It's deeper than just it's deeper. Let's just phrase it that way. Like, I don't want to say I don't know it legitimately. I don't know anything. I don't want to. That one I don't know about. I've heard other ones from when Desco was in recruiting that I don't want to say on air. That's how I'll phrase it. That's what I've been told from other people. So
for sure,
I don't want to burn my sources yet.
I mean, I heard the other day that where Jeff Teet's dream school was? Syracuse.
That
dream school was Syracuse. So, like, how did we miss that one? You know? But I mean, Gary's never gonna miss a Canadian stud.
No,
he's never gonna miss a Cuse local stud anymore.
Right.
But I mean, like Section 5, Section 6, all these like sections in upstate New York are a little down, but we're still getting these top guys. I mean, there's drama with, Coach. Coach. Sorry, why am I blanking on my own?
I don't know where you're going. I don't know where you're going with this.
Like TD Erlin, though, like we missed him.
Okay. Yeah.
His dad was my football coach. Like,
okay.
His dream school was Syracuse, and we missed him. Like, it's gonna be ones you miss, but I mean, we missed Blaze. They said that he wasn't good enough.
Yeah, that's. Blaze is actually married to somebody I went to high school with. So
Ella and I had dinner last night in Philly.
Okay.
Yeah. I was the best man in that wedding, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
but Blaze, Blaze is one of those ones where you look at it, especially now.
Yeah.
And it's like, see, here's the thing. See, now you're going to make me go off on tangents because of this, because we're going to start talking. You had the Galloways, obviously. So it's not like they missed out.
Yeah.
But you look at if Blaze went to Syracuse, if Jeff Teat goes to Syracuse now, as you said, if that's the truth, like if the rumor that obviously, you look at that though, and it's just crazy to think about that. Like if TD comes to Syracuse.
Yeah.
And it's not even that they're bad. Like TD obviously had a great career. Blaze has obviously had a great career
too. Blaze didn't look like a Division I lacrosse player by any means. Like,
I'm clipping this right now and I'm sending this out. So
no.
Athletic.
He's the most athletic human being that I've ever seen. Like, you do not want to get stuck in a match of anything with
Blaze.
Right. No, it's interesting. Yeah, we'll see though. I'm excited. I think that we're on the up and up. Like, it's fun to watch them, and definitely proud to be an alumni and watch those games.
Right. Well, you'll have to get up to one, obviously, when your schedule quote works out. That's
I know. I gotta get the insights from Carly early. Yes. I love her too. I'm so happy that she's running the operation stuff. She's doing great. Like,
well, I'm just gonna say there are a lot of people who pay for those schedules very early. Is how I'll say it that way.
All right. I got her Venmo.
Yeah. No, that's a whole nother topic, but that's not a Syracuse issue. That's an NCAA issue. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there, obviously, because like I said, we could. I don't want to get in trouble for that. Is how I'll say it.
You're good.
I know there's going to be somebody who will come at me about the schedule thing. So
yeah,
I'll just say parents are a valuable asset. Is what I'll tell people. That's what I'll say. That's how I'll phrase it.
We need more money. For sure. I think that's a hard part too. I mean, you got a lot of upstate New York kids, and then you're going against these a lot of deep pockets in Duke and Notre Dame. There's actually a kid from Highland Park going to Duke, Hunter Henry. And I think he's got some deep pockets to help the NIL Duke. And I'm like, dang, it's like that now, And I know Gary's trying to get more NIL money and more scholarships with these new rules.
Right.
And he'll find a way like he always has. Like the guy's a winner. And I'll be really excited to say I was always rooting for him when he holds the next national championship.
Okay.
It's called national championship at Syracuse.
That's on the record. So we just got that on the record. So
for sure. I
mean, I think you're stupid if you're a Syracuse fan and you don't want him to win. I'll just be blunt in saying it that way. It's a nicer way than I want to say it. But there are some Syracuse fans who don't want him to win. I'll just say it that way. And I heard the chatter.
It's wild. It really is wild. And I think they must have forgot about the other 3 that he did win as a player, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh, they don't care about those. Those are great. Yeah. It's him as a coach I wish I was joking. They have been they're the fans for a while. We love.
What do they want from him though? To be jumping up and down and yelling at the refs and freaking out? What are they looking for?
Do you want the honest answer? Because I can.
I
can give
do.
It to you. I can give it to you from my side. Here's the way that I'll say it. When a player gets hit out of bounds, and there's no flag thrown, and I'm just going to phrase it this way. You see Gary walk away. Now, I know he's saying something to the official.
Yeah.
I think they're used to the Lelands.
Yes.
That's the way. Leland's a great example because I know how his style.
Leland's the man. I love him. I really do.
But they see that person, and that's the style they want Gary to. I want Gary to have. I want more fiery. That's the way. We all hate Corrigan, but Corrigan is sitting there screaming at the officials.
Yep.
Tillman does it. I mean, they all. Every other coach does it. Is the way that I'll say it.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, you can't get bodied around. Not.
I also think. See this, you're gonna make me do this. I think it's not Coach O's fault. That's how I'll say it. Because I see Coach O screaming a lot. I do see that.
Yeah.
But Pat March looks like he's sound asleep sometimes during the games. So I can launch. It's not just Gary. Trust me. It's not just.
Yeah, I could see that.
Coach O is always screaming at the officials, whether Syracuse is on offense or defense, and everybody sees that. There was chats that they wanted him to be the head coach after Virginia. Now.
That was the man. I like Coach O a lot. I think he's an unbelievable man, and he's done a great job. But that's also that's good cop, bad cop sometimes too. You kind of have to be a really good delegator as a coach,
right?
And I think Coach Desko, by the way, did that. Coach Donahue ran the offense and is an unbelievable mastermind. Yep. And then you had Leland running the defense, and Coach Desko had the oversight of a lot of it. And but you're right though. I've seen that guy blow a gasket a couple times on an official. Never really did he blow his gasket on a player in a game. No. But there were some times where I don't
even think it's that people want to see him criticizing the player.
Yeah.
I think they just want to see when a flag gets called, and you can tell that it's not a flag.
Yeah.
Or you can tell that it's a dumb call. You can tell that Notre Dame gets a call this weekend. I think people want to see him get in the ref's face. That's the way that I'll say it.
I can agree with that. I mean, for sure. But that's just not how he was as a player, too.
I know, but You're not going to make me happy saying that. It's how I'll say that. I want both. I want the calm, like, because the calm thing works. It does work. Like you just said, the good cop, bad cop. I just think when a referee blows 10 face-off calls, I'll just use that as an example. Per the Hopkins game, where everything was getting called a certain way and it looked a certain way, and it looked very obvious. Is how I'll say it. I think people wanted him to get in the ref's face. That's how I'll say it.
It's funny. Yeah. And then he'll one of these days get in the ref's face and everyone's gonna be like, oh my God, he lost his mind. Like, what why is this guy?
I'll stand up and I'll applaud. I'll be perfect, like, because I think that's what I think a lot of the faithful will do that. I hate to say it that way.
Yeah.
The minute he does that, there won't be the outcry. Trust me. That's how I'll say it. The people that are in the text group that I have will not be mad. They will stand up and give him a standing ovation, a sarcastic ovation at that. But
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, before we go 2 hours more and we get into the whole deep dive, I want to get you out. That way, I don't know when your season starts, so I don't know.
Oh, we're in the mix of it right now.
Okay.
We got like 2 more games until playoffs, so. It's funny. I started practice on January 1st, and we go till Mother's Day weekend.
Okay.
It's a long season in Texas.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, you also don't have something called snow down there, so it makes it a little easier to start in January. So
it's about to start being 100 at practice.
Yeah.
Games.
I was gonna say, like I said, I didn't want to get you if you had practice or anything like that. So
we have it a little later here. So I was fun with a little scheduling problems.
Yeah.
We were supposed to play DeMayo at the Woodlands on Saturday, and they canceled our bus trip. So little bummed out. The boys are upset. They're number 3 in the state over at the Woodlands, and we're number 6. And we were really looking forward to that game. So yeah.
I'll get you out of here though, so you can kind of go enjoy your Texas heat, and you can go sit out there and go do your stuff. I appreciate you coming on though. I will definitely hold you to the fire about the Syracuse stuff, and I have your phone number, so I will be texting you at some point about. Yeah, it's okay. The loss. Listen, you'll just be hearing from me when they lose. Is all I'll say. I'll make that joke.
All right. Well, hopefully I get to text you on Saturday about this big Notre Dame win, and
that's
alumni weekend.
I'll look forward to that. Is all I'm going to say. Truthfully, I'd rather get those texts than the. Okay, what happened?
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah. So
it's a big one.
It is huge.
Getting that UVA win, though, I mean, I think that takes a little pressure off of us for this one, I'm hoping.
See, you're going to make me do this. See, now we're going to get back. I thought we were out.
No,
we hear the one game at a time crap is all I'm going to say. That's how I'll phrase that.
Yeah. No, it is one game at a time, but I mean,
it's easier for you guys to say that. And I don't want to, I'll loop you in as a coach. And it's easier for you to say that. I'll just say, I've been looking forward to this part of the schedule the whole year. I didn't care about the first 7 games.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see like this. I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to UNC at the end of the season already. I hate to say it that way because that could be, like that's. I'm looking forward to Cornell. I'm not even worried about anybody else. I'm worried about Cornell.
For sure. No, we need to we can't have the Ivy Leagues be better than us. And that Harvard loss is going to put even more pressure on that Cornell game. Yeah.
Well, and it's cursed. So the matchup is. Yeah. Yeah. No. But I'll let you get out on that note. Like I said, I appreciate coming on. I always like to end it with the nice little Go Orange, obviously. So.
Yes, sir. Go Orange.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me.
Yes. Thank you, Dan. Have a great one. It was great talking.
You too.
All right.